Here we go. And so today we are talking about growing your self-confidence. I'm going to offer you a couple of tips to help you grow yours because self-confidence is a skill and everybody can work on it. My name is Gina Covarrubias. I'm an engineering life coach, and I coach engineers and STEM professionals. And frankly, I coach any professional who is struggling with their career. Part of my mission is to help people make the most of where they are. So let's get started. Here's a quick outline of what I'm going to talk to you about tonight. First, we're going to talk about identity, self-identity and job identity. And then we'll get into people-pleasing. And section 3 will end with owning your beliefs. And I'll help you understand what I mean by that. But the first thing I'd like to do is to actually share with you my favorite definition of self-confidence. And I've got that listed here. Self-confidence is the willingness to embrace any emotion. So just kind of pause for a moment and think about that. What would it mean for you to embrace any emotion? Fear, humiliation, embarrassment, the list can go on and on. What if being afraid of those things, you were actually able to embrace them? How would that grow your self-confidence? So let's get started with a couple of tips to help you grow and increase your self-confidence. Have you ever heard some of these quotes at work? You need to communicate more. Your results weren't as good as expected. Or maybe you're not a team player. You need to work on such and such skills. Maybe speaking skills, presentation skills, whatever it may be. So we can hear these things from colleagues. We can hear these types of criticisms from maybe our bosses during a performance review. And what I want you to try to remember here, so this might be new for some of you, these examples are irrelevant to your humanness. They mean nothing about you as a human. Your humanness, or yourself, is what you are in this world. It could include your human existence. Maybe you think of it as your being, your essence, your spirit, however you want to define what you are in this world. I want you to think of yourself as a human that has humanity, which is not measurable. We cannot measure a person's humanness. That means no human is better than another. We are all on an equal playing field when it comes to our humanity. Unlike the things we do, and that includes our job. Our job has objectives and scope and goals for us. We go to work, we use our skills, our abilities, we uncover capabilities. These are all things that we do, both in work and outside of work. And a lot of these things are measurable. These things that we do, these things that we accomplish. And this is very different from our humanness. So tip number 1 is I want you to try to remember that your performance in the workplace is not personal. Try to separate your being or your humanness from your job performance. Your humanness is always good enough, and remember, it cannot be measurable. And the other thing to go along with this tip is that your performance can always be improved. All of us, no matter who we are, no matter how old we are, our experiences, it doesn't matter. We can always grow our own skills and abilities. So to wrap up this section, I want to leave you with this quote. Your humanness is always 100% enough. Your performance is always a work in progress. That brings us to section 2. Let's talk a little bit about people-pleasing. People-pleasing is a form of deception in the name of being liked. So what we do when we people-please is we kind of deceive others because we're acting a certain way and we're doing certain things. We're going about our business hoping to persuade other people to like us. And that means we're hiding our true selves in some form. Now, people-pleasing can come in many different forms, These are just a couple that I listed here. Hiding or avoiding, pretending to be something you're not, overworking. That's a common one. We overwork because we're so worried about pleasing other people. Overcommitting and suppressing the person that you really are. And all of this comes from a fear of what will they think of me? If I'm truly authentic, what will they think? People pleasing can truly be an exhausting way to live your life because you're suppressing yourself. You can't be who you truly want to be. So a couple questions for you to take away and think about. Really ponder, so what if others don't like me? So what? What does that mean? What do you make it mean if other people don't like you? But perhaps the most important question I'd like you to take away is to think about, why aren't you liking yourself so much so that it doesn't even matter if others like you? That's right. For some of you, this might be the first time you're hearing this concept. So I really want you to think about this. If you liked yourself and you cherished yourself and you valued yourself so much, it really wouldn't matter if other people like you or not. It would be kind of fun if they did, but it's not a requirement. It wouldn't bring your world down. You wouldn't be dependent on other people. So tip number 2 that I want you to try to take away and apply is to remember that it's your job to like yourself first. When you learn how to do that, you won't be so desperate for other people to fill in that gap for you, because that's not other people's burdens. It's not their job. That's your job. Liking yourself first might mean you have to disappoint some other people. So what? Ask yourself, so what? Liking yourself first opens the door to authenticity. You can show up and genuinely be yourself in the world. And that is not an exhausting way to live. So I'd like to wrap up this section with this awesome quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. That brings us to our last tip. The idea of owning your beliefs. Let's talk about what that means. Your beliefs include your thoughts and perceptions of the world, your interpretation, the dilemmas that go on in your brain, the labels that you use for other people or for situations, and even the language that you use. All of these things exist in your mind, and they belong to you and you only, because you are the creator. Therefore, nobody else has the right to know what's going on inside your mind unless you share it with them, unless you give them your consent. Now, similarly, as the creator of their own beliefs, other people get to own what's inside their mind. They are not obligated to share what's going on in here unless they choose to do so. Therefore, you are not privy to beliefs and thoughts and to all the things that are going on inside other people's minds unless you have their consent. Kind of like owning a home. You can't just walk into somebody else's house because they own it. If they invite you in and give you their consent, that's a different story. So, same concept. So what we have established here is that, number 1, nobody has the right to know what's inside of your mind unless you consent to it. Number 2, you are not privy to what's in other people's minds unless you have their consent. In other words, this leads to tip 3. It is none of your business what other people think of you. Likewise, it's nobody else's business what you think of them. Let people have their beliefs about you. Let them own their beliefs about you, because guess what? They're going to do it anyway. What I would suggest is that instead you concentrate on what do you think of you? And honestly ask yourself and answer for yourself, what do I think of me? Here is our conclusion for section 3. When anyone provokes you, be assured that it is your own opinion which provokes you. From Stoic philosopher Epictetus. I love this quote. With that, I would love to say thank you so much for joining me. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments, or if you want to talk about something offline